As we can see what is network administrator and TCP/IP suite in the previous lectures, now our main concern is about planning your network. So planning your network or designing the network, which is the first phase, it includes the number of the host machines your network supports, what are the type of network media that you can use in your network or in designing your network, which is Ethernet, tokening, FTDI, or so on. Third, we have to discuss the network topologies, that is the physical layout and connection of the computer hardware or network hardware. So what are the type of the host the network will support, like standalone or diskless or database or dataless, etc. Now, factors that are involved in the network planning. There are several factors. When you have completed your hardware plan, you are ready to begin network planning. So from the software perspective, as a part of the planning process, you must obtain a network number, and if applicable, register your network domain with the inter-NIC. So devise an IP address schemes for your host after you receiving your IP network numbers. So create a handwritten or type listed containing the IP addresses and host names of all machines to compromise your network, which you can use to build your network databases. Fourth, you have to determine which form of name services to use on your network, like NIS plus, DNS, or other network databases in the local or slash etc directory. Next, to establish the administrative subdivisions if appropriate for your network. Determine if your network is large enough to require the routers, and if appropriate, create a network topology that support them. Last but not the least, to set up the subnets, so if appropriate for your networks. Next, we have setting up an IP addressing scheme. So the number of the machine you expect to support, which will affect the several decisions you will need to make at this stage of setting up a network for your site. So your organization may require a small networks of the several dozen standalone machines to cater on a floor of a single building. Alternatively, you may need to set up a network which with more than 100 hosts in several buildings. So this arrangement may require you to further divide your networks into subdivisions called subnets. The size of your prospective networks will affect the network class you apply for, the network number you will receive, or the IP addressing scheme you are going to use for your network. Next, what are the parts of the IP addresses? So each network running TCP/IP that must have the unique network number, and every machine on it must have the unique IP address. So it's important to understand that how IP addresses are constructed before you register your network and obtain its network number. The IP address is the 32-bit number that uniquely identify a network interface on a machine. So an IP address is typically written in the decimal digits, formatted as 4 8-bit fields separated by the period. So each 8-bit field represents a byte of the IP address. This forms representing of the bytes of an IP address is often referred to as the dotted decimal format. So the bytes of the IP address are further classified into two parts. The first part is the host part, and next part is the network part. As you can see, the network parts and last first two bits is the network parts, and last two bits are the host part. So network parts specify that the unique number assigned to your network, and the host part of the IP address that you assign to each host, it uniquely identifies this machine on your network. Next, we have the subnet numbers. Locally, networks with the large number of the hosts and are sometimes divided in subnets. If you choose your subnets, your networks, you need to assign a subnet, so you can maximize the efficiency of the IP addresses space by using some of the bits from the host part of the IP address as the network identifier. So that's it for today's lecture. Thank you.